Hey, what's up, my friend? Chris Lim here from Mixdown Online. Super excited to talk about the Cubase 12 that just came out. Now, I'm going to share with you my top 5 features found in this new version of Cubase. Now, to be honest, there's way more features in Cubase 12, but I have to limit myself to my top 5 or else my video is going to last 2 hours. All right, so without further ado, let's jump in Cubase and check this out. Okay, let's start this one up with this amazing feature we have in Cubase 12 called the Midi remote integration. So let's check it out. If we go in Cubase, on the top, I'm going to click on my show and hide lower zone. And on the lower zone, I have a new tab, which is the Midi remote tab. I'm going to click on this one. And now I have my 2 controllers, like 2 of my controllers that I have connected on my computer. My Arturia Keylab Essential 61 and also my Korg Nano Control 2 that I actually never work with, but now I have a reason to work with this one, and I'm going to show you why in this video. Now, the cool thing is that the minute I connected my Nano Control and also my Arturia on my computer, Cubase was able to detect it and apply the script for each of these devices. Now, the reason why that happened is because those manufacturers made a script for Cubase 12, which is great. Now, so far, we don't have a bunch of scripts in Cubase that will cover all controllers out there, but we have a good start. And I was lucky enough to have those controllers listed on the supported script in Cubase 12, which is amazing. Now, in the near future, Steinberg will add more manufacturers and more controllers to the script list that we have at the moment. But the cool thing, if yours is not listed, you can actually create one custom of your own if you want to. You click on the plus sign, you assign your input and output MIDI ports, and for vendor, just select user defined, enter your vendor. I'm just gonna do this one quickly, test, click on next. At this point, you'll be able to create your own custom layout and assign different commands to those knobs, faders, and buttons. Okay, I'm not going to do this in this video, but this is basically how you can do it. And then it's going to be listed right here on top. Once you have your controller set up, just select it and let the fun begin. Now, on their mapping page on top, I have 4 choices for my Nano Control. I have Focus Quick Controls, which is pretty cool, Mixer, Selected Track, EQ of Selected Track also. So if I click on Mixer, that will basically make my 8 faders and other commands control the faders of my session, basically. So if I click on my first, just to show you, I'm going to click on the fader tab of my first selected channel right here. And there you go. Now I can actually move my fader, the fader of this channel, with my Nano Control fader. Now, my Nano Control is not a motorized fader, so if I bring down from Cubase this fader, it's not going to bring down physically my fader on my actual device because this one is not motorized compared to my fader port 16 that is. But it's actually pretty cool that you can actually use these faders to control the faders of your session if you want to. You can also, if I select selected track, that will then control a bunch of different parameters of your channel. For example, if I move the first fader, that will control the send level of the first slot. And now, if you want to know what command those knobs and faders are actually working on or assigned to, you just need to open the mapping assistant right here or on the top right. And there you go. You will have your controller listed and all those commands assigned to every knobs depending on the mapping you have selected. If you want to know which, like what the second fader does, you just touch your fader and you will see where that command is assigned to. There's also EQ of selected track that is quite cool. So you can, from this window, you can actually just, let me turn this one on, and there you go. So there's a bunch of stuff I can do from this point. And again, if you want to know what command you have assigned to each button in this case, you just need to go back into your mapping assistant window and do the same, touch your knob, and you will see what command this knob is assigned to. Okay, very simple. Then we have the focus quick controls, and this one is very, very cool. So this will use, in my case, it will use my 8 knobs that I have on top of my nano control. Those are used for quick controls, but we call it focus quick controls because you can actually control plugins, and this is very nice. So I'm going to go on my inserts and open the vintage compressor we have in Cubase. On the top right of that plugin, we have the QC icon, which stands for quick control. I'm going to click on it, and then I will have my 8 knobs represented at the top of the plugin that are mapped to different commands of this compressor. So my input is right here, my attack, release, mix, output is at the end, and you know, all the main commands are mapped to this controller, which is awesome. The cool thing is that you can also select another command, you know, for the first knob if you want to. You can also use your learn feature like we do with regular quick controls, and you can change that around as you wish. And the cool thing is that if you modify the default mapping that you can do by just selecting another command per quick controls, Cubase will keep that in memory. So the next time you're going to load the same plugin on another channel or on another insert slot, it will keep that in mind, and it will remember your custom mapping, which is awesome. Now, when your focus quick control is active on the plugin, you have it light up right here on the top right. And this is when you'll be able to control your plugin with your controller. Super easy to do. Now, all Cubase plugins will have those quick controls active, and also some other plugins, like I have right here the Auto-Tune by Antares. So I'm going to again click on a quick control, and there you go. I have already some mapping going on that I can work with right away. And I have a list of parameters I can switch to. So pretty nice. There's also this lock function that is very cool, so I'm going to activate it. Now, the quick controls are locked to this specific plugin. So if I click on another channel and I open the arouser, that's another compressor, I'm going to activate a quick control. I won't be able to control the arouser with my control because the controls are locked to my vintage compressor. Even if the arouser plugin is selected, if I move my knob, it's going to control my vintage compressor, okay, because it's locked. So it's pretty cool. If I unlock it and then I select the arouser, now the arouser is the one that is selected, and I can work on this one. Very cool and practical. Then at the lower zone, we have the quick control focus setup. By default, it is set up to track and plugin window focus. So that means that it's going to control the plugin if the plugin is selected, like it usually does. But if I go on my channel instead and unselect the plugin, now it's going to control the quick control. So let's just assign one quick control on this one, and there you go, okay? If I click on the plugin again, it's going to control the plugin. If I click anywhere on my channel, it's going to control the quick controls. If you want to, you can change that around by selecting track focus only if you only want to control the quick controls and not any plugins. Or you can select the plugin window focus only if you just want the focus quick controls to control the plugins. So very cool feature we have here in Cubase. That is a nice addition. Now the second feature I like a lot in Cubase 12, and this one is Multitrack Audio Warp. Let's check it out. Okay, now I'm just going to open this this event into the sample editor. Gonna go into Audio Warp, Free Warp, and this is usually what I get, and I do my Free Warp like I usually do. Now this time around, what I can do, if I select more than one event, let's go with these two, I double click, there you go. I can free warp multiple channels at the same time. And this is amazing, and it works very well. Now, if you double click several events and you open Audio Warp, this is what you're going to get. Now, you're going to see both. In my case, I only have two, so we're going to see both events open in Audio Warp. So the blue one is the one that is up front, the one that I'm actually editing, and the one in the background is a bit more grayed out. Okay, so that is the second selection. They are available right here, so I can switch from one to the other. So let's go instead and select 4 events. And I'm going to have my 4 events right here. So, okay, so it's going to do the same thing. What I can do here is to make sure that Edit All Clips is selected, and same for Show All Clips. And from this point, I can free Audio Warp these 4 events at the same time. And you can actually see it right here in the project window. If I move this around, you will see it affecting those 4 events, okay, right away, which is quite impressive. But on top of that, it gets better. Check it out. I can do free warp straight from the project window. And this is quite crazy. So I'm going to go on top and select my time warp tool. And if I click again, I'm going to have a free warp option. And this is the one I'm going to select. So I can apply free warp on one event like this. You click, it's going to activate, it's going to select the event. And then I'll be able to add some warping mark points and start do my warping, okay? And if I want to do this on several channels, I just need to select the amount of channels where I want to apply warping and do the same thing. And there you go. Those will be applied at the same time right away. Now, the way I'm doing it right now is going to work well for a recording like doubled acoustic guitars like I have right here. Okay, those guitars were recorded one after the other, playing the same part, and they are panned left and right. So they are using one microphone, but 2 different parts, 2 different recordings. So if I actually select both of them and do some audio warp, let's just do something quick. Okay, it's going to work well. Now, I'm actually destroying what was good to begin with, because that take was actually well performed, but it's just to give you the example. But if I take this recording, which is also an acoustic guitar, but this time around I used 2 microphones, and this is only one recording, so one performance. And I'm going to do the same, adding some markers and play a bit with the timing. Okay, now, I don't know if you noticed, but you know, what I did here created phasing issues. Listen to it again. And this is due to the fact that it's actually the same recording, okay? So it's the same performance recorded with 2 different microphones. Now, by activating and by applying audio warp, it's going to mess up the phase, and that is a big problem. But Steinberg thought of that, and look at what we have now that is quite impressive. If you group those 2 channels into a folder that I have right here, you can now click on this option that is called Phase Coherent Audio Warp. And this is crazy. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to apply audio warp on that same recording, do a similar warping, and listen to the result. No phasing issues, and this is quite amazing. So we have that option to keep everything phase coherent, which is amazing. So you can imagine how that can work on drums. Same thing. This is going to be a very good tool to tighten things up on a drum recording. So you have it. This is how you can do audio warp on several channels at the same time in Cubase 12. Now, the next very cool feature we have in Cubase 12 is the audio to MIDI chords. Check this out. And this is actually pretty powerful. So let's say I have like this guitar recording that we are going to quickly listen to. Okay, so let's say, you know, I want to know the chords that the guitar player is playing. What I'm going to do is just to select one audio event or several audio events out of that recording and right-click and click on Create Chords Events. Look at this. Now I'm just going to go down And I have a chord track that Cubase created for me. If you already have one in your project, you will have those chords added to the chord track. But if you don't have a chord track in your project, Cubase will create one for you, which is super practical. So let's change the color of this one, and now we have the chords. Now I'm going to assign this one to a piano, and this is what I'm going to get. That's perfect. This is actually very, very cool. So it's a very good way to find a chord, like a chord structure or a chord progression out of an audio recording. Now, note that this will work only on audio that will have more than one note playing, like 3 notes to generate a chord, like a strumming acoustic guitar like this one, or guitar chords played by an electric guitar, like pianos, synths, polyphonic instruments. Now, this will not work on single note instruments or recordings like a bass guitar, a voice, a cello, even the passing note is not going to be detected as a chord. So it needs to be instruments or recordings that are actually playing chords, okay? But it is an amazing tool to work with. Now, the next one has to do with a very cool tool we have in Cubase, one of my favorite that I work with on a regular basis, and that is Variaudio. And this time around, we have Variaudio with Scale Assistant. That was introduced in Cubase 11 for MIDI notes. Now, we have it with Variaudio. Let's check it out. So I have a guitar solo that I'm going to double click on the event, and that will open the sample editor window. I'm going to make that bigger, and we are going to activate Variaudio. And now we have our notes right here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is go down and click on the Scale Assistant on the left zone. And I'm going to click on Use Chord Track. Now, this is going to go according to the chord track that I have in my session. If I close this window, it's right here on top. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Variaudio. And now that I am actually using a chord track right here in the Scale Assistant, I'm going to go right here on top and make sure that I use scale chords. And that will change the colors of my notes in Variaudio. And all the notes that are in red means that they are not part of the chord or scale of my song. Okay, so this is actually a very useful tool when adding Variaudio on an electric guitar solo, a vocal, and so on. So very, very nice tool if you want to make sure that all the notes that are sang by a singer or played by a guitar player that are actually part of the scale or chords you're playing in your session. So that is a very, very nice one. Next, we have a new virtual instrument and some new plugins. Now, for the new instrument we have in Cubase 12, it's a felt piano. The piano itself sounds pretty good. I just want to do a quick run on what we get with this very cool, soft sounding piano. So let's have a listen. So we have 2 microphone placement. One is close and the other one is a bit more further away. So let's have a listen. The close one. And this is the second one that is further away. So it gives us the flexibility to go and play between those 2 mic positions. And also we have the balance, and this is actually pretty cool because this is going to balance the natural sound of the piano with the texture, which is right here. And this is actually pretty cool. So let's have a quick listen if we blend in some texture. That is pretty cool. It's a very nice sounded piano. If we go into the effects side, you can add a general reverb, or you can add also a delay to the piano or a delay to the texture itself, which makes this piano very versatile. There's a bunch of creative stuff you can do with this piano. It has its own sound. It's a bit more darker, a bit more softer than like a regular type piano. But I kind of love that tone, and it sounds pretty good. So this is called Verve, and take note that it will take around 8 gigabytes of space on your hard drive. So it's a huge piano. Okay, now on top of that, we also have new plugins, and the first one I want to show you is the effects modulator. So I'm going to take this pad right here. Okay, and I'm gonna add a pumping effect. Usually I can use a sidechain compression on the synth itself, triggered by a kick drum, and that will add the pumping effect with the compressor. But with the effects modulator, I can actually create that effect within the plugin itself. But this plugin is gonna do way more than what I'm gonna show you. You know, this is only the tip of the iceberg, just to give you an example. But for this video, I just want to keep it quick and show you what a basic thing you can do, like a pumping effect on a pad. So I'm going to add a compressor right here, and let's go and add a pattern. Let's go with this one right here. I'm going to make the time to 1/4 of a note. All right, let's go with this one instead. Okay, that's pretty cool. Okay, I kind of like that. I'm just going to smooth it up just a bit. Cool. Bring down the release, making it a bit more punchier. Now with the drum groove. Can add up to 6 modules for one effect, which is quite cool. So I'm going to add some panning. Let's add some panning up, and let's go and select the first half of the beat, and let's add this one on the second half. Let's go with this pattern. Change this one around. Okay, I'm going to leave it this way. Let's add something else. Let's go with a flanger this time. And let's listen to this again. Interesting. That's cool. Okay, bring down the mix. So, you know, this is the type of thing you can do with this plugin. It can be very creative, and you have access to a bunch of different presets. Let's go nuts here and go with the keyboard chorus pump. So, you know, another version of what I did on my own. Let's go with pad movement 4. Let's go with pad movement 2. That's cool. Okay, let's try pad movement 1. Now you can be very creative with this type of tool, and you can also use sidechain on every single module, you know, which is quite insane. So if that is your thing, there you go. You're going to have fun with the effects modulator. We also have a plugin called Razor, which is a super fast limiter. And again, I'm going to do a video on this one later on. I need to experiment with this one a bit more. But basically, it's a fast limiter, and you have different types of release. You can do it manual, automatic, and also restricted minimum or restricted maximum, which is quite nice. So that can be anything above 45 milliseconds for the release time, you know, so that can be your restricted minimum value, or you can say anything goes, you know, bring it automatic, but to a maximum of 280 milliseconds. Okay, so this is a way you can work with the release time of this limiter. And there's also the aggressive mode, which is basically going to be super aggressive, fast attack, fast release, ceiling, and the gain, the input gain. So the regular parameters we have on a limiter. So this one is called Razor, and we also have with Supervision some new modules. So we have a VU meter this time, and also something pretty cool, the Spectrum keyboard, which is quite nice. Now I'm gonna have to get a hold of this one and to start working with it. But you know, but it's cool because you can actually determine out of a sound, look at all the harmonics it produces. And there's also a level and loudness histogram that was added to Supervision. So those are my top 5 features found in Cubase 12. Now there's way more improvements and features on this new release of Cubase, like for example, and you know, this is one big change, actually is no more e-licenser dongle. Okay, so for Cubase 12, you don't need the little dongle you have in your possession to use a Cubase 12 on your computer. Now through the Steinberg Activation Manager, you'll be able to activate your Cubase 12 license on 3 different computers. So this is actually a huge change. But don't get rid of your dongle yet, because all your older versions of Cubase or other Steinberg software that needs the dongle are still gonna work with the dongle. So, you know, keep it with you for now. We also have improvement into the import tracks from project. Now you can import the tempo and signature track from a project and a track archive. Also the audio export with sidechain support, which is also pretty nice. ARA improvement, that means that, you know, when you use a Spectrasonic, for example, on an audio event, or Melodyne on an audio event with the ARA extension, this time on top of using it on a specific audio event, you'll be able to use it on a full channel. So this is a very nice improvement. Support for Dolby Atmos is coming soon, also on a future update, and also some improvements with the logical editor. And there's more also. So you can check this out on the Steinberg website. I'm going to leave the link down below. So those are my top 5 new features found in Cubase 12. Let me know if you think it's worth it for you to upgrade to the new version. And if so, let me know which one of these new features are your favorite. Leave everything in the comment section below, on top of other comments and questions you might have. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Until next time, my friend, take care and see you.